So by this time, we've created the application with a nice MVVM framework. We've integrated camera functionality, and we've added a SQL Server compact database. Now let's update a live tile. If you recall, the live tile is the larger view of an application that shows up when the user pins it to their start screen. A nice live tile is somewhat dynamic, which means that it will show information that changes from time to time based on the application. Good examples here would be the weather or headlines. Because this is a picture-related application, it makes sense that we would put an image there. On the main page of the app, I've added a button to update the live tile. Of course, in a real application, you'd want to do this automatically when the user exits the application. What I've done is I've created a method called update live tile, and this is what gets called when you click that button. First thing it does is it looks at the shell tile objects collection, active tiles. And the reason it's collection instead of just a live tile object is because an application can have multiple live tiles. A news application might use this for a specific live tile per category of news. We just care about the first one, and you will receive a first back even if the user hasn't pinned to the front page. Next thing I do is grab the last memo that was saved. I have an inline link query from the app view model, all photo memos table, order by descending, and it's the ID. This turns into a SQL query behind the scenes using an order by clause with the ID, and then I grab the first or default. Now it's important that I say or default in this case because I never check to see if there were in fact any memos. First time the application runs, or if before they've ever actually saved an image, there won't be anything in the collection. So this means I'll either get the first memo back that matches the criteria, in this case the last one saved, or I'll get a null. Then I create a URI variable that I'll be using to save the image that I'll actually want to show. As long as I got a last memo back, I create a URI pointing to isolated storage using the new ISOStore URI scheme in the 7.1 SDK. And then I need to use this specific folder, shared/shell content. If you remember back on the camera page, every time I save a thumbnail, I save it first to the root of isolated storage and then to the shared/shell content folder. This is important because live tiles must read from the shared/shell content folder. It's the only place they have access. Notice also that because I'm saving it twice, I set the image stream back to 0. So once I have a URI set up, I create a standard tile data object, and this is what I actually pass to the tile that's being updated. So I set the public properties of standard tile data. I give it a title. This title is not necessarily based on the title of the application, although in most cases that would make sense. So for the front of the tile, you set the title and the background image and a count. The count is the small number that goes in the upper right of a tile, for instance, to show how many unread messages you have. I set this to the number of memos that are currently stored and the background image to this thumbnail from that last memo. I also have the ability to set information on the back of the tile, in which case Windows Phone will automatically flip the tile when necessary to show that content. I have a back title and back content. I could also set a background image as well. That's it. I'm ready to start the application up. Before I update the live tile, I want to make sure that I actually have a picture to save, so I'll take a photo. And this is where I want to click Update Live Tile. However, we haven't actually pinned it to the start screen yet. Let's pin it to the start screen. And notice that even though I didn't have it pinned, it is actually set to the custom settings. Remember I said you get a first back even though you don't have anything pinned. So I've made changes to the live tile even though I hadn't had it pinned at that point, but now it's ready to go. Windows Phone flips it automatically. It does flip it a little bit more often in the emulator so that you can see it better. But notice that the white text does not work with that white image. So in your own application, you may need to be careful to have a transparent area in your image. to use different colors, or just to restrict the type of image that you show. So that's very much depends on the type of app that you're creating. Now you may have noticed that the notch was in the upper left when I took the picture, but now you're seeing it down along the bottom. And this is because effectively the image is rotated 90 degrees because the phone emulator was in the portrait, not landscape orientation. So some additional logic would be required so that you can rotate the image based on the orientation of the phone.